Welcome back to No Bullshit with Alex Willis. Super excited to have you here as we really begin to dive into this concept of the have-it-all lifestyle. How do we have a phenomenal personal life outside of work, right? Outside of work. Now, we've shared several tips in our first two segments. Also, some great books for you to think about. If you want to check it out, go back and listen to those segments. Trust me, you want those that will help you out, right? So, in this segment, the foundation, we're going to really begin to lay a foundation for you that you can really begin to build on to say how you can truly have it all. Now, but before we build that foundation, there's 6 myths that we have to dispel. 6 myths about having it all, about the work that's intended for you to do that we have to dispel. And number one is this. Number one, the first myth is that everything matters equally, right? That bullshit. Everything does not matter equally, my friends. You can just think about that from a workout standpoint. We talked about this in other episodes before, that 80-20 rule, right? Where you can find the 20% of things that give you 80% of results. Understand, everything in your life is not equal, and so therefore it shouldn't be treated equal. So if you're going to have the have-it-all lifestyle, you have to understand that concept and principle and begin to apply that principle to your life in such a way that is truly beneficial to you. Now, where do we get this from? This segment right here comes from a book called The One Thing, which talks about how do you get extraordinary results, right? It's called The One Thing. How do you get extraordinary results? And understand, so that myth number one, everything matters equally. Myth number two is multitasking saves you time. It does not. It actually wastes time for you. So understand, when it comes down to doing multiple things, you get more benefit, more effort, better results when you focus. Hey, listen, say, you know what? For the next 3 months, I am focusing in on this key aspect of life. And I'm going to make sure it is phenomenal, right? And once I get this in place, then I'll begin to say, okay, hey, I'm going to put more dedicated focus in this other area, right? This brings me to principle number 3 that you have to understand this myth, which is the power of a disciplined life. Understand this. People tend to hate discipline. But the truth is, my friends, the more disciplined you are, the more freedom you have. Think about that. That sounds crazy. But the more disciplined you are, the more freedom you have. If you are disciplined going to the gym 7 days a week, hour, 2 hours, whatever your regimen is, please understand you could probably eat whatever you want. Your diet is no diet. Why? Because you are disciplined enough to understand the things that you need to do, and you do them in such a way that it helps you out. I love this quote that I heard not too long ago that talked about this. There are no extraordinary people in life. I know you're like, what you talking about, Willis? Yeah. There are no extraordinary people in life. No extraordinary people in life. No, not none. No extraordinary people in life. But here's the deal. Those who have extreme success, they just do the ordinary a little more extra. So understand it. There are no extraordinary people in life. Those who have extreme success, they just do ordinary shit extra, right? So they spend a little more time, a little more discipline doing those things that other people won't do. So they're not special. No, they just have extreme discipline to say, you know what? I'm just going to wake my ass up and go to the gym every single day. I don't care how I feel. There's nothing extraordinary about that. That's ordinary. But they've gone the extra mile to do it a little bit more. And as a result of that, they get extreme results, right? Brings me to number 4, which is this. Understand, most people think or believe willpower is always on call. Like you can always just say, oh, I can just will myself off of it. No, that's bullshit. No, you can't. Willpower is like your cell phone battery, my friend, right? It dies down. It has limited bandwidth. And over time, it is dying down and it goes if you don't use it correctly. There was a real crazy study done with circuit court judges in a certain area. And here's what they found, my friends. They began to analyze the judge over time, right? And they realized that people who went before the judge first thing in the morning had a better chance of getting a lighter sentence, be it parole, be it getting off, be it just a fine or probation, versus the people who would meet the judge right before lunch, right? Those who meet the judge right before lunch, most times in this study, judge had a short fuse, not as forgiving, not as empathetic, not as compassionate. Why? Well, they've gone from 8 o'clock this morning to lunchtime, and as a result of that, they've kind of fallen off, and willpower just and focus just isn't there right now, right? Now, after lunch, the study changed because after lunch, they had another spike, right? So if you got a chance to see that, judge, after lunch, hey, willpower was at its all-time high again, but it dwindled down toward midday, mid-afternoon, you will see drop-offs again. So what does that show us, that study? Well, that study shows us that none of us, my friends, have unlimited willpower. So you have to use it wisely and understand when and how to use it and where to use it, right? Brings me to number 5. Number 5 is this lie of living a balanced life. Please understand, balance is bullshit, right? We tend to think we're going to lead this balanced life where we teeter and totter back and forth. If you do that, you'll be great at nothing. Understand, greatness is at the edges, right? So you have to commit and be disciplined to go all out in an area, and usually on the outliers of that area is where greatness happens. If you teeter and totter in the middle, you'll be half-assed, subpar in all the things that you do. So it brings me to this great point that I had to understand for my family and us, which is we had to really begin to design and construct a family structure that works for us. What do I mean by that? Well, we had to understand we're not the traditional family. So when it comes to time, when it comes to us hanging out, when it comes to us doing things, it doesn't look like everyone else. I had to begin to understand that, you know what, time or quantity and quality are two totally different things, right? So when you begin to understand what balance looks like for you, you can begin to not live this dream that it has to be even and equal, but you begin to live this dream and understand that, hey, listen, no, it just has to be impactful, right? So being impactful is something totally different. The other thing is this: people tend to think that big is bad, right? That big is bad, and that's bullshit, because they begin to only make plans based on what they think they currently have the ability to do right now today. That's the worst thing you can do, my friends, basing your life on where you are currently today. You got to understand this. Over time and over this journey, you're going to learn some amazing skills, how to do certain things, and as you begin to understand that, you can begin to go for that bigger dream. There's a cool dude named Grant Cardone. Some people like him, some people don't. I don't care what you think about him. I like his mentality. Grant talks about 10xing your dreams, right? So if you look back in the last segment, we talked a lot about writing your vision. What I want you to do is I want you to Grant Cardone it, right? What do I mean by that? I want you to go back and look at that vision, and I want you to times it times 10. To say, what would it look like times 10 to do the things that I said I wanted to do on my list? Now, I know some of you that'll scare the shit out of you. I get it. But understand, if you're going to be successful in life, sometimes you have to be afraid and scared to do it. And as you do that, my friends, it helps you lean in to understand how to become your best self, right? Now, if you can begin to do that, you can begin to set your life up in such a way that you begin to lay the dominoes in place. And if you've ever played dominoes as a kid, you understand this concept. When you get momentum going with dominoes, it's hard to stop the momentum. The same is true with our lives. When we begin to understand what we want, understand why we want it, really begin to come against those myths, we can really begin to line ourselves up, right? And say, what's the vision? What is it that I want? Where is it that I want to go? Now, there's one question that will help you do that, and it's called the focusing question. This helps focus your mind. And some people say it's the lazy question, right? The focusing question, the lazy question, whatever you want to call it, I think it's something you should consider adding to your life. And here's the question, my friends. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Think about that. So if you go back to segment 1, the takeoff, we talked about this wheel of life in which you evaluate yourself in all of these key areas to see where you are, how you're doing. Now, once you evaluate yourself in those key areas, I want you to apply the focusing question to those areas and say, wait a minute, whoa. What's the one thing that I can do that by doing it makes everything else in my life either easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing? Now, the first time I did this, I was thinking deep. Oh, I gotta go hire a life coach, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. But I want you to really begin to think simple. I want you to think really simple right now. And what do I mean by thinking simple? Here's what I mean by that. Really pull it down to one of the easiest things that you can do to affect all of those areas. Now, here's what I found for myself. For me, and I implemented this years ago, and it was a life changer for me, a game changer. What's the one thing that I can do that by doing it affects all of those areas in my circle of life? Get my ass up earlier. I realized, hey, dude, if you get up every day between 4 and 4:30, you have time to work out, you have time to meditate, you have time to pray, you have time to put your to-do list together for today, you have time to research your personal development for a few minutes, you have time to research how to be a great husband, how to be a great dad. All you have to do, bro, is get up a little early. So I was able to implement that into my life, and I immediately saw impact in those key areas by asking that one question. So as we end this segment, I want you to take some time, look at that wheel of life, those key areas, and I want you to ask that one question. I'm not asking that one question in every area right now. I want you to go really broad and ask yourself that question for all of those areas and give one answer. What's the one thing that you can do that by doing it makes every one of those other areas either easier or unnecessary, right? What is it that you could do? By finding the answer to that, my friends, it's the start of you really living this journey called the Have It All lifestyle, really meeting your maximum potential. Now, in our last segment, as we talk about the frame out, we're going to really begin to frame out some other key pieces of how do you really begin to stack your life in such a way so that you can really begin to plan it, and not only plan it, but do a hell of a job executing it so that you can get it. So we'll see you in the next segment, my friends. Hey, I want to personally thank you for tuning in to No Bullshit with Alex Willis, the #1 go-to source for leadership development in the construction industry. And hey, don't forget to hit play on the next segment.